Welcome to the Truth to You Daily Podcast, a podcast designed for teenagers who want to learn more about God's Word and how it impacts our daily lives. Journey with us as we set out to explore God's timeless truth one day at a time. Hey, thanks for joining us on the podcast today. The date is March the 3rd. It's Wednesday, and we're excited about this day for sure. I want to go ahead and notice our memory verse for the week. It's 1 John 2 and verse 6. Hopefully, you're at the point now where you've committed it to memory and you've been able to walk around with it this past week. But 1 John 2 and verse 6, He that saith he abideth in him ought himself also so to walk, even as he walked. 1 John 2 verse 6. He that saith he abideth in him ought himself also so to walk, even as he walked. We're in 1 Peter chapter 5, and we're looking at verse 5 here. The Bible says, Likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Yea, all of you be subject one to another, and be clothed with humility. For God resisteth the proud, and giveth grace to the humble. You know, we're given here a command that reaches not just the younger, but everyone. And Peter specifies that. He starts off with saying, hey, you younger people, submit yourselves unto the elder. And before we go any further, let me just say that this is something that is not modeled well in our society. The idea of submission is to place yourself under. And in other words, somebody has the ability to give me a command, has the ability to tell me to do something. We call that our authority. Well, Peter says here, listen, older people automatically have that right to go ahead and ask us to do things, just in general. And now, certainly, if anybody asks you to do something wrong that or against the Bible, that would be okay to refuse that. But the spirit of what Peter is saying here is, listen, hey, don't be looking at every corner or every chance you get to get out of doing things for other people. Don't be looking for an escape from submission to anyone, and we're going to get to that. But really, here he talks about the responsibility of the younger to submit to those who are older. So, listen, teenager, how does this play out? Well, listen, certainly if your teacher in school asks you to do something, the response should not be, well, why don't you get somebody else to do it? The response should not be to your parents who ask you to do something or tell you to do something, well, I'm not really interested in doing that. That should not be the response. If somebody asks you to help carry something, the response should not be, hey, can you please find somebody else? I don't really want to do that. Okay, that should be furthest from our mind. We should be looking for areas that we can submit to older people. And really, submission does not just have to do with actions playing out, but really it can also have to do with submitting in thinking. Repeatedly we're told in the New Testament that the elders have something to teach the youngers. And a lot of that comes from experience, life lessons, and so on. But surrender your thinking to the Bible, but also to being open to learn some things from the older generation. These are great things, but what's the rest of this verse here? He says, yea, all of you be subject one to another. Again, here's this submission, and be clothed with humility. Peter is drawing out here the fact that each one of us has a voice that we want to be heard. We have opinions that we are interested in sharing with other people. We have desires that we want to see accomplished. When we see something done one way, we immediately begin to think of maybe how it could be done better or how we would do it. But, there are many times where our voice needs to be heard. But there are some times where it doesn't. And our input is not necessary at that time. In fact, Peter says here, there needs to be a spirit about us that where we're not just submitting to some older folks, but we are being subject or in a spirit of submission to everyone. That means that a 12th grader, when talking to a 7th grader, is not going to lord over them in some fashion. Like the 7th grade is maybe supposed to serve the seniors. Now, I don't know who thinks that way, but the idea here is that there is a level playing field in which if a 7th grader needs help, a senior should be willing to take that time. If a senior needs some help, a 7th grader should be willing to take that time. This goes for siblings. This goes for a bunch of other applications as well. And so, listen, hey, don't miss the truth here. Listen, we can be so prideful. We have thought we think that we're better than certain people. We look down on people, and that should not be the case. We should be clothing ourselves, as Peter says, with humility. And remember that God ultimately resists a prideful person. How do your actions play out in regards to this? Do you consider yourself a humble individual? Do you consider yourself a prideful individual? What goes on in the deepest recesses of your heart and of your mind? Because remember, God gives grace to the humble. Hey, do you remember we saw that in the book of James? God giving grace, more grace to the humble in mind, humble in spirit, humble in action. Hey, I want the Lord's goodnesses to be poured out all over my life. And the way that comes is by embracing humility, being subject one to another, responding right when somebody asks for help or there is a situation in which help is needed, going ahead. Maybe it's putting on the robe of humility in some way and just saying, you know what? I'm going to embrace a humble spirit here, no matter what the situation is, and I'm just going to submit myself to this situation because I know that it's pleasing unto the Lord. Let me challenge you today, be subject, teenagers, not just to the older, but to others as well. Hey, thanks for joining us. I want to mention here our teenager of the day is Selena. We're praying for her. She's a junior in high school, and she is blazing a trail through her high school years, as is the case with so many. I'll tell you, as I look back through the years, it just seems like people grow up so fast. And it's exciting to watch. But pray for Selena. Ask that the Lord would give her wisdom and discretion for the future. I know that she would appreciate it. Hey, we hope that you'll join us here again tomorrow as we examine another timeless truth from God's Word. Have a great day.